Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Esther and this is Sisters. Today's tutorial we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful crop top or overlap crop top with a cut together bell. And this sleeve, I've done a tutorial on this sleeve. I will leave the link on the description box below. Please, if this is your first time or stopping by, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment on the comment section. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. God bless you. So let's go straight to the tutorial. So guys, here is my pattern paper. I folded it with 10 inches in this way for the overlap and the extension for the bell. Now I will go ahead and draw a line. This line will serve as my shoulder line or my starting point. Then the next thing is the length of my blouse. This paper, the length of this top is 19 inches, but this paper is not up to 19 inches. I'll still cut it like that. When I'm cutting it on my fabric, I will extend it. Now I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder line, come down from that point with 1 inch. Then from that 1 inch, I'll go down with my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8.5. That will serve as my armhole length. Then I will mark my bust point. It's very important to mark my bust point at this point, and then the hemline. Now I will go ahead and connect the points together like this. Then the neck width is 3 inches, the neck depth is 3 inches for the front. Then I'll go ahead and use my curve rule to connect the points. And this is what we'll be having. Now the 1 inch that I went down for my shoulder slope, I'll connect it to the nape of my neckline. Then whatever I got on my shoulder, divide by 2, I will also mark it on the armhole length and connect the points like this. Now I will divide the length by 2, then go in with ½ inch. Then on the chest line, I will go ahead and mark my quarter of my bust points and connect the 3 points like this. Using my ruler, I'll connect the points as I'm doing it like this. And this is what we'll be having. Now I will now go ahead and input my waistline. This is an overlap and it will having a belt, so it has to be fitted. I'll go in with my waist measurement at the hemline, my waist divided by 4, and then I'll go ahead and add 2 inches allowance. Then on my bust point, I'll add my allowances as well, 2 inches, and connect it like this. And this is what we'll be having. Now I'll go ahead and open the extension. First, let me mark this place so that we'll know where the markings for the drafting started. Then on the shoulder line, I will go down with 6.5 inches. That is how I want the neckline for my overlap to be. Then on the hemline, on that extension, that 10 inches extension, I want my overlap to lap with 5 inches. So you go ahead and mark the 5 inches. Sorry, this part was not capturing. I'll go ahead and mark the 5 inches. Then on that 5 inches, on the hemline upward, I will mark 5 inches. The 5 inches that I marked from the center of my front, that line is the 5 inches. From the shoulder of my front towards the extension, the 10 inches extension, that's the 5 inches. Now I'll go ahead and mark and connect the point. Now on the waistline, I mark towards that 5 inches, I mark 5 inches up. Then I'll go ahead and connect from the nape of my neckline to the 10 inches, that is the new neckline depth, then to the 5 inches that I took from the waistline up, that is from the full length of the top up. I'll connect the points like that. Then on the hemline line, I will go ahead and extend the line. This place that I'm pointing at, I extended it from that 5 inches. I will extend it, the line. We are cutting our belt together with it, so I extended it towards that side. If your paper is long enough, you extend it to the amount you want for your rope. I extended it. Then my rope, the width of my rope will be 2 inches. But since this one was not enough, the length of the paper was not enough, so we leave it like that. When I'm cutting on my fabric, I will add it back. I will add the 1 inches back. Now I can't leave the overlap like that. I don't want it to gape. So I will have to create a dart on that area so that I will eliminate all those gaping on that in front. So I measure from the nip of my neckline to the 5 inches that I took in front, and it gave me 15. So that 15 divided by 2, I now connected the line to my bust point. That's the reason why I marked the bust point here. I connected it slanted to the bust point at the uh, seam allowance side. Then I took 3/4 inch on one side and 3/4 inch on one side, and then I connected it to the side. Now I'll go ahead and cut everything out, and this is what we'll be having. So now I need to close this my dart, so I'll cut it here, down here, on this line. This is where I will cut it to the side, towards the seam side. I will not cut through. Cut it very very close, but not through. And use your tape to tape it down if you have, but at this point I've exhausted my tape, so I will use my pin and pin everything down. Now coming to this armhole, I went off camera to measure the dart on that particular area, and it was half inch. So if I'm cutting it on my fabric, I will have to add that half inch on the armhole, there where my hand is touching. I will have to add it back because it has reduced it on that particular area a little bit, the half inch. So I will add it back on that just the armhole. I will add the half inch back. Then in front, you can see that it's not straight, so I will have to complement that area. So I'll go ahead and place another paper underneath and blend everything together like this, then trim the excess out. Then you can use your tape again to tape it down, but I will use my pin to pin it. Now when I was drafting it, I did not add a shoulder allowance, but when cutting it on my fabric, I'll go ahead and add my shoulder allowance. This is what we'll be having. Remember, the hemline was not the length that I wanted for mine, so I'll go ahead and add 1 inch when I'm cutting it on my fabric. And the belt, I want my belt to be long enough to go round from the front to the back and back to the front. So when I'm cutting it on my fabric, I will add 45 inches. I will extend my belt with 45 inches from that area. Now you can go ahead and fold the extra inch in and use it to cut your back, or you draft the back separately, just like I am doing in this area. So the back, there's nothing special, just for you to mark. This is my shoulder line. The front was 3 inches width, so I'll go ahead and mark 3 inches width, 1.5 inches depth for the back. and the back we are cutting it on fold. It's only the front that is cut in open. The back we are cutting on fold. Now I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder line. Go ahead and mark 1 inch down and connect it to the nip of my neckline. Then I'll go down with my 8.5, which is my armhole length. Then I'll input my quarter of my bust plus allowance, 2-inch allowance. Then the waistline, I will input quarter of my waistline and added 2-inch allowance as well. Then connect the points. Then on that area, connect this point as well. Then I will go ahead and mark my shoulder line on that particular, that is the chest line. Then connect the points together. Now I will input quarter of my bust without the allowance so that I will get my armhole cuff. Then connect it like this, and this is what we're having. Nothing special with the back. Now on the back, I added the 1/2 inch allowance. I did not add in front. I added on the back pattern. Added the 1/2 inch allowance. So it's only the front that I will be adding 1/2 inch when I'm cutting it. And the reason why it's like this is I lost the clip for the front, so I have to draft another one. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. And this is what we'll be having. Now I will indicate that I'll be cutting this on fold. And this is what we are having. So I've cut mine on my fabric. This is the front. I cut 2 pieces, or let's say 4 pieces. If you have enough material, go ahead and cut 4 pieces, the same length. Everything should be the same. You use 2 as the main fabric and use 2 to turn it. When cutting it, I added all my allowances on the areas that I needed to add the allowances, like the bell and the front. I added on the shoulder line, and this is what we are having. Both the front and facing. The facing is not full because I didn't have enough material, but if your material is enough, please cut the same thing. That is 4 pieces, the main fabric and facing. And here is my back cut on fold, and this is the facing for my back. Then the down part of the back, since I did not cut 2, I went ahead to cut a facing for the down part as well. When I finished, I cut the facing with 3 inches width. Then the length is the waist measurement plus 2 inches. So I will now, this is the sleeve. This sleeve, I have a tutorial on how to go about this sleeve. I will leave it on the description box below. Now I will take it to my machine. I'll work on the facing first. Place the back facing down. Pick the front facing. I will place the back facing like so. Then the front facing, right side to right side, I will join them on the shoulder line. Do the same thing with the other one. I will join them on the shoulder line like this. Then I will also do the same thing with the front and back, the main fabric, the front and back. I will do the same thing. I will join them on the shoulder line just like I did with the facing. And this is what we are having. This is my facing. I'll join it on the shoulder line. And this is the body. I'll join it on the shoulder line as well. Then the back part, the facing that I cut for the back, I've joined it on the hemline. Then I went ahead to top stitch it. When I flip it inside, this is what we'll be having. So that side will be neatly finished. Well, you can use bias to turn yours, but I wanted mine to be neatly finished and professional. So this is what we are having. Now remember I said I cut the facing with 3 inches. I use half inch to turn it. It's remaining 2.5. I will now turn knit in with half inch to hide the rough edges, and it will be exactly 2 inches, just like the rope, like the bell. This is what we are having. Now I will take it to my machine again and join it and use the lining to turn, use the facing to turn the main fabric. I'll first of all join it on the shoulder. Make sure that the shoulders are matched. I will pin it like so. Can go ahead and pin everything around, but I will just pin it on my shoulders. Make sure I pin from one shoulder to another, just like I'm doing like this. This fabric is very busy. This is a vintage satin, a very light vintage satin. And then I will join it from one side, from one. Make sure you align it so that you'll be sure that everything is corresponding perfectly, just like I'm doing here. Align it like this and start sewing it from one belt. Start attaching it from one belt that is in front to turn the front neckline. To turn the front neckline, you start joining it from one belt like this. You can go ahead and pin it down. Start joining it like so. Join it from one belt to the back to the other belt. Then you go ahead and notch it, the cuff area, which is the back neckline, and top stitch everything from one belt to another. Top stitch them, and this is what you'll be having. Can we see? I've top stitched it, and this is what I am having. So when top stitching it, the allowance will be going towards the facing, and this is what I'm having. I will go ahead and use my iron to iron everything flat from one end to another end. Iron them flat. And here it is. This is what we're having. The material is very busy. Now I will take it again and turn it, turn the facing and the main fabric on the rope or the belt side. I will turn it facing one, the right side facing right side, and start sewing it. I want to close my belt. I will sew it up to the other side and do the same thing with the other one. And this is what we are having. Now I'll go ahead and turn it in. Trim off the excesses on that you have there, and turn the belt inside out. When turning it, you turn it up to where your side seam will be. Meaning when you are turning it, you use the facing to turn it up to your waistline. Just like I use a facing to turn the back waistline, I will also use this one to turn the front waistline. So when I was closing the belt, I will sew it up to the waistline like this. Then I open from the waistline, I top stitch it. Just like I did, I will top stitch to where I could, because the belt is too narrow for me to top stitch. So I top stitch to where I could, and then you turn it and iron everything, and this is what you'll be having. Can we see how beautiful the bell is looking? I hope we're getting this. You can watch it over and over and over until you understand it. This is not a beginner friendly, but if you're a person that learn fast, you can still understand it. So for the back, I will go ahead and use the back neckline or the back facing. I use my gum stay. I'll use my hemming gum to gum it down. Make sure you arrange it well before you gum it so that when you turn it on the right side, it will not be squeezing. And this is what I'm having. Can we see how neat and flat the right side is looking? And make sure you arrange yours properly before gumming it. This is how it's looking. Everything is looking so beautiful. Now I will take it to my machine. Since my fabric was not enough to cut the front facing full, like just like the main fabric. So I went ahead to overlock the rough edges where the facing stopped. I overlocked it. Now on the hemline, the back and the front, as I'm joining it on the side, I'll make sure the facing for the back, the facing that I used to turn it on the waistline or on the full length, and the facing that I used to turn the front on the full length, we match facing to facing, and I will start sewing. This is where the facing for the back stop on the facing for the front. So I will sew from there with the allowance that I left for my side seam. I left 1 inch for my side seam. So I'll go ahead. It was 2 inches I added for the side seam though, but 1 inch is to make for freeness, then 1 inch allowance to join it. So I went ahead to sew it down with my 1 inch, and then I will open the side seam like this and iron it down. Bend the facing inside. Let it tally with the side seam as seam to seam, and iron it just like I'm doing. But before you iron it, arrange it and make sure that everything align perfectly. If you cut it well, if your drafting was if your drafting was properly drafted, everything will align just like mine. Then on that particular place, I'll go ahead and put my hemming gum to press it down just like I did. I'll do the same thing with the other side. Then I will top stitch on the back facing alone. From the side seam, I will top stitch it to the other side seam, that back facing. The front facing does not have issue to not fly out. It's only the back facing that I top stitch on. So go ahead and iron the other side as well. Open the seams, the facing, the seam for the facing and the seam for the main fabric. Open them up, then match the two together and iron it flat. This way your work will be neat. This material is very very busy. It's not even showing anything. But just follow the explanation, you get it right. And please don't forget to subscribe. Share to someone, to share with someone, to share with someone. Now go ahead and top stitch the back facing. I've top stitched it, and this is what we're having. I'll iron that particular area, and everything will be smooth, flat, and professional. Needs a neat finishing. Your finishing is very important. And this is what I'm having. Now is to go and attach my sleeve to this. And can we see how beautiful this is coming out? So much fall in love with this. When you're tying the rope, you tie it from the front to the back and back to the front. Or you can just tie it and leave it at the back. Can you see how beautiful this is? And the overlap in front is not gaping at all because I eliminated those excess material or excess fabric there that was supposed to make it to gape. I eliminated it using my darts. Now I will go ahead and hem. You can overlock your sleeve, but my overlocker machine is not that tiny. It's commercial overlocker, not that tiny. So I went ahead to turn it, and this is what we're having. So can we see the front is lapping? Even when I put it on my body, it was lapping perfectly. Do the same, eliminate those excesses there after extending your overlap. Make sure you take a dart on that front to eliminate the excesses. And this is what I'm having. This is so beautiful. I love the outcome of this. Though it's not the size of this mannequin, I use my measurement for this tutorial. But it's looking so beautiful. Can we see what we're having here? Alright guys, this brings us to the end of our tutorial. Please, if you've not subscribed up to this point, go ahead and do so. Like, share, and leave a comment on the comment section. God bless you. Bye.